There's a song from the 60s called Downtown that include the lyrics, when you're alone and life is making you lonely, you can always go downtown. Now the song goes on to extol the virtues of life downtown where everything's waiting for you. Is that song still relevant today? Do the lyrics from that 60s hit still ring true, or are they just sentiments from days gone by? Does Main Street still have a place in our social fabric? The community of Alliston sits in the heart of the town of New Tecumseth. The region is traditionally known for potato farming. However, the introduction of Honda of Canada manufacturing to the southeast of Alliston in 1986 brought with it a huge increase in commercial and industrial development, along with a population boom. Currently, a number of box stores are located in the west end of town. More are coming to the east, putting downtown Alliston right in the middle of the two commercial developments. If the Shoes Fit is a new business located on Alliston's Main Street. Owner Stephanie Layton sees an opportunity having the bigger stores at each end of the downtown core.
People are going to have to travel right through downtown to get to either end, and we got lots down here that they can stop and see, so I think it'll be great from one end to the other, and we're in the middle.
I'm pretty good.
Something to pick up?
Picking up a prescription?
Sure.
Pharmacist Randy Greenman has been the owner-operator of Ray's Pharmacy, located in Alliston's downtown, for over 20 years. He's had to develop a new strategy for his business as the bigger stores came to town.
One way I feel we can fight the box stores is to specialize in what we do best, and that's being a pharmacy, not being a store that sells cleaning supplies and food supplies and those sorts of things. And we're really going to focus more on the pharmacy end of it and the pharmacy service.
90-year-old Joe McCarroll remembers downtown Alliston from another era. It was a time when horse and buggy, followed by Model Ts, ruled the dirt roads of the town. His father, Eddie McCarroll, owned a thriving butcher shop on the main street that Joe too worked at and eventually took over after coming back from the war. It was also around that time residents were told the King and Queen would be making a whistle stop in Alliston as the tracks cut right through the center of the community. The town was abuzz with the news.
And people congregated from as far away as Owen Sound and Barrie and different places around to see the King and Queen. Well, that night the train went through. There was a huge crowd in town for the size of her town. But the train went through without even slowing down. There was a lot of very unhappy people on that occasion. We did see Mackenzie King sitting there eating his dinner. That was the biggest, that wasn't very exciting. Our butcher shop was right in there, the original one, and then I bought and moved in here. This is where we came to dance at one time.
Situated at the very western point of the main street sits an abandoned building that for 75 years housed a car dealership.
The entrance was up here. There were stairways going upstairs which were pretty noisy, creaky.
Before that, during the 30s and 40s, the downstairs portion served as a garage, while upstairs, every Saturday night, people would come far and wide, including Joe McCarroll and his future wife Angie, to dance to a live band at Hunter's Hall in Alliston. Did you do a lot of dancing?
Tried to get up every dance, yes. I think we did. I didn't like square dancing very much, never got used to that. We didn't have too many of them anyway, unless it was a special group had a dance.
In 1947, Joe and Angie McCarroll were married. Angie was diagnosed with Alzheimer's in 1997. These days, Joe visits his wife twice a week at the Simcoe Manor in Beeton. The days of music and dancing at Hunter's Hall are gone, but certainly not forgotten for Joe McCarroll. Scott McDonald is heading off to work. It's a 5-minute walk from his home to his business, located on Victoria Street in Alliston. McDonald owns the Circle Theatre, an independent theatre that has been running films since 1938. McDonald's father, Whitney, worked as a projectionist at the movie house, eventually purchasing the business in 1958 for $29,000. Scott McDonald followed in his father's footsteps. Not much has changed for the little theatre since 1938.
Well, you don't have the video games, you don't have the high prices. We have some unique stuff in the candy bar that people tell us you can't get anywhere else because they used to get it when they were kids. We don't run matinees, we just run at night. We're not open on Sunday, so we're just open 6 days a week. It's pretty well an old-fashioned old theater, run that way when it was back in the 40s.
McDonald makes sure all his pictures are family-oriented. The films he runs are usually shown 2 months after their initial release, hence the lower ticket prices.
We use boxes, we don't use tubs. This is the old-fashioned way. That's 75 cents, that's $1.50.
McDonald's overhead costs are low. He is a one-man band, washing floors, cleaning the aisles, preparing tickets, setting up the concession stand, and changing the marquee, which he doesn't turn on until a half hour before the show to save on the electricity bill.
So I can sit anywhere, right?
It's 6:30 p.m. on a Tuesday evening, and McDonald swings into gear. After manning the ticket booth, he heads up to the projection room where the films are loaded and ready to go. Once he fires them up, they have to be changed every 20 minutes, in between other duties.
Sometimes I even have to go in and run the candy bar if my wife goes home.
It's very close to home and the price is right and it's just great. If you miss a movie at the big theaters, it always comes here a few weeks after, so it's great.
The community almost lost its little gem of a theater back in the spring of 2008.
Started off, I had to have a $10,000 fire alarm system or I couldn't stay open. And I told them I didn't have the money to put it in. And to make the story short, they took me to court. They were going to close me down.
It was then some community members took it upon themselves to help out McDonald and his little theater.
The people got together and some of us offered financial help to Scott. We even had checks come in. But Scott, being Scott, he turned it down. He said, no, this isn't what I want. He says, you know, I'm not going to take money from people. He says, I want this resolved. And the politicians finally got it resolved.
It's not politicians, it's not businesses that make a community, it's the people that live in it. And I think we're very, very fortunate with the people that live here.
This is an institution. It's one of the last small theaters in Ontario. You can take your wife, go to the theater, buy popcorn, a pop, all for under $12. You just can't get that anywhere else in Ontario. This really epitomizes what small town Ontario is about, and especially what Alliston is all about.
For 1 week, the most money we've ever taken in was Santa Claus. It was unbelievable. We'll never do that again.
The Circle Theatre on Alliston's main street lives on. This is the quaint little village of Beeton, which lies a couple kilometers south of Alliston. Now, Beeton is primarily known for producing two things: honey and hockey players. Well-known author and broadcaster Kate Aiken was also from Beeton. In fact, that's the house she grew up in, right over there. But for many people, when you mention the town of Beeton, the first thing that comes to mind is the Muddy Water Tavern, located on the main street. One gets the feeling as soon as you walk into the building, there's something special about this place. Even if you've never been here, you probably have heard about it. Even this guy has heard about the Muddy.
Every walk of life has come through the doors, and everybody that's here has enjoyed it, and everybody's always wanted to see it. And it's amazing to hear the stories that people will tell you of how they've heard of this place. Some people have said they've heard about it in Mexico, in Cuba, and live down in Toronto and are heading up to the Muskokas and say, you know what, let's go take a look at this place.
There's a couple of things that make this place special. First, there's the name. Once called the Beetonia Hotel, the copper pipes that were laid 100 years ago and fed the town its water eventually corroded to the point that they filled up with silt, producing muddy water every time the taps were turned on. Hence the name, the Muddy Water Tavern. Then there's the food, the fun, and the fights. Not of the physical nature, of course.
That is not quite the way it worked. The fire started right over here, and
Case in point, these two patrons of the Muddy are having a heated dispute. Mike Urbanski on the left believes the devastating fire that wiped out the town in the late 1800s started somewhere other than where Bert Platt on the right says it began. The odds favor Bert Platt, resident historian and author of The History of Beeton.
the fire started 1892 at J. Hipwell's back shed, right across the street from this building. And it started and it got out of control and it was raging by the time they got to see it. There was no fire department at the time. It was a devastating blow to the town, to the village, and to D.A. Jones.
And that man, D.A. Jones, is considered to be the father of Beeton. He owned and operated many businesses in the village and was the postmaster for over 50 years. However, it was his beekeeping operation that put Beeton on the map, literally.
He was the bee king of Canada at one time. And the name Beeton is derived from Bee Town. They called this Bee Town, and eventually the town took the name on Beeton.
Today's downtown Beeton consists of a cluster of small attractive shops and businesses spread out along a wide main street. Plans for a revitalization of the street are in the works, with a suggested theme of, what else, honey and flowers for all the signage. At one end of the downtown is the local newspaper that used to be the Beeton Town Hall. Down at the other end is the local food land that not only provides groceries for the town, it keeps the community connected.
Hi. Oh, no, not so bad. Look at this. Look at the sun out there.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
It's kind of nice. Yeah. You go to checkout. You can't always just get through because the checkout person knows you and he says, well, how is your so-and-so? Who's doing this? You know.
It used to be the post office, but they've taken that away now, so now it's your community grocery store.
You always bump into people you know. Sometimes that isn't good because you're in a hurry and you get everywhere late, but at the same time you leave. And you always leave with a smile on your face. You never leave frustrated.
Back at the Muddy, Mike and Bert continue to rage on about the historical facts, correct or incorrect, of this fine community, while another patron of the Muddy Water Tavern in downtown Beeton has left the building. This is Mill Street in the town of Angus, considered to be the main street for this Essa Township community. To call it a downtown would be a bit of a stretch, at least as it stands now. Consisting of commercial and residential buildings stretching along a couple of kilometers, much of the land along this route has been bought up by developers, making Mill Street a downtown in waiting.
Will that be all today?
Yes, that will be all. Thank you.
Sandy McDonald is the owner of an Angus health food store and is Ward 1 councillor for Essa Township.
What will be in the future will be a great downtown, but for right now, we don't have those developers developing. They're actually housing. So now you have your main street being filled with partial residential, partial commercial, which doesn't have that pizzazz of a downtown if you're talking to like our neighbors, like whether it be Stayner or whether it be New Tecumseh. So we're striving for that.
There was a time when downtown Angus was truly what you'd expect a downtown should look like. It was located in this area, just less than a kilometer from Mill Street. Old downtown Angus thrived, as did the lumber industry, beginning in the 1800s. The downtown core consisted of 5 general stores, 4 blacksmith shops, 2 liquor stores, drugstore, flour and feed store, 2 tailor shops, bake shop, 5 hotels, and a brothel. Today, there are only a few reminders as to what the downtown looked like way back then. Longtime resident Ray Latimer remembers such a time.
Back in the early days, this is where the first street light in Angus was placed. And some of the locals in the village here were quite concerned about it because they thought the village would go broke with that light burning day and night, using up the electricity that was required for it.
For Latimer, it's not just about the physical changes in town that have taken place over his lifetime.
People are so occupied now. You don't see them gathering like they used to, being around and sitting and talking on the steps or whatever the case may be.
However, not too far away from old downtown Angus can be found a place that even Ray Latimer can appreciate.
No blood. No blood at all, eh, Jim?
Larry Bennett has been barbering for 44 years. He loves his job and likes to keep it simple.
But all you need as a barber is just a regular clipper, comb, and scissors, and a customer.
Larry Bennett has had the same flat-top brush that he uses on his customers since 1966, sterilized, of course. He also has a multifunctional business card. After all the matches are gone, voila. Like an old-time doctor, he does house calls when required, and his prices are low.
You've had this for a while.
Oh yes, that's just that's why I say I'm just an old-fashioned barber. All you have to do is punch in the $10 and pull the handle, and there you go.
I like coming here to listen to the local gossip and the joke telling that Larry usually tells, and 15 minutes later he forgets what he told you. And then you may lose an ear in the meantime.
I see a shop of dreams, smell the smoke and shaving cream. There's a man with a razor in his hand. Around the chair he goes, like a dancer on his toes, while the conversation flows from each man. These are the ghosts from another time. To cure in this domain they share. From fathers to sons, the circle is one. Oh, the words from that old barber's chair.
I guess I'll do it until I'm not on the earth anymore.
When Highway 90 from Barrie was constructed in the early 60s, it cut right through the town of Angus and continued on into Camp Borden. That's what eventually brought the migration of businesses and housing over here to Mill Street. So while one downtown gets lost in history, another one waits in anticipation for what the future will bring. If you've ever been to the village of Creemore, located in Clearview Township, you either came for a reason or you probably got lost. You don't pass through Creemore to get to somewhere else. Having said that, there are many reasons to visit, and many do. Downtown Creemore, where they say if you come here, don't be in a hurry.
It's very quaint. They've got some great little stores for shopping. Today I had stayed at my chalet in Craigleith and was heading back to Toronto, so I stopped in, took a nice drive, and stopped in at the cafe and just looking around at some stores today.
Brian and Carol Vaughn are visiting from England. They got the word that downtown Creemore was the place to come.
It's lovely, yes.
Really
it's really good. They've
really
kept
pretty.
it original. Driving around, we thought it was like Shropshire.
I like the buildings, I like the architecture.
How about the log and stone? Like that one?
I like stone.
Mm-hmm. I love Creemore because, as I said, it's not that there's any such thing as a town that's completely untouched by time, but Creemore really reminds me of the small towns I remember when I was a kid, and I love it here.
yeah, really.
I like downtown Creemore because I can walk to everything. I can walk to get money out of the bank, I can go to the hardware store, the grocery store, I can walk to the library. There's lots of community events going on in Station on the Green. I've just come from a yoga class. I'm standing outside of one of my favourite stores, which is Cardboard Castles, which is the best kids store I've ever been in my life.
So all of those for 12.
I shop in Creemore basically because I find the stores to be unique, and I tend to purchase stuff here for people in the city. And for example, at Christmas time, people are always shocked by the uniqueness of the gifts that I have and are curious to find out that I got this in a small town and not in Toronto.
Oh, I remember. Yeah, now you speak.
Business in Creemore is wonderful. It's tight-knit of business.
owners. Everything here is independently owned and operated. So we come together, we network together, and it's a fun support group.
Another independent business in the heart of downtown Creemore is the community's newspaper, the Creemore Echo. Originally called the Creemore Star, the paper has been in existence for over 100 years, operating out of the current building for most of those years.
We have always operated the Echo partly as a business, but primarily as a community service. But it's been a successful enough business to continue to grow and to hopefully do a better job providing community service.
Today, the Creemore Echo staff are busy putting the finishing touches on a new and improved version of the paper, adding more content and changing the entire look. It's a little paper with big ideas.
It's a tabloid paper. We're in a little town, so everybody says little paper, and I don't think they mean anything negative about that. It's just kind of what we are, and we're happy to be called that terrific little paper or whatever. As long as the word in front of little is positive, we're happy with that.
Creemore's downtown core seems to have it all, with its unique shops, boutiques, and eateries.
Coming in. We open.
Even a French restaurant. And if that's not enough to bring you to the town, there's another reason. It's all about the beer, Creemore Springs.
It's what we're best known for. I'm always amused whenever I come back into the country at customs, particularly when you're driving and you say, where are you from? Creemore. And from that point on, all they want to talk about is the brewery or the beer, and kind of not so much about what are you bringing into the country.
Located on the main street, the Creemore Springs Brewery is indeed the #1 tourist destination in the community, not to mention that it employs 75 people.
When I arrived here almost 20 years ago, the town was a very different place, particularly on the weekends, but even all through the week, the main street didn't look the way it does now in terms of the number of businesses and the variety of businesses, and I think the brewery is responsible to some extent for that, without a doubt.
Cheers!
You may only be walking 5 minutes to do an errand, but it'll probably take you half an hour because you're going to meet people on the way. It's the kind of case where everybody gets slowed down a little bit that's used to running real hard, and they like that.
George MacDonald is pretty familiar with the trials and tribulations of Simcoe County's downtown cores, having been warden of the county for 2 terms and a mayor of Midland for 12 years. He knows Main Street Midland. MacDonald says there are reasons why this downtown is in good shape.
We kept the banks downtown. Everybody will have to go to a bank sooner or later, so they come downtown to go to the banks. We're standing right beside a beautiful old library here that used to be the town hall many, many years ago. People now want to go to a library. They come downtown to go to the library.
Numerous specialty shops and boutiques, a grocery store, several restaurants with at least 27 businesses displaying painted murals revealing a little of Midland's history help to make Midland's downtown a destination point for many.
I think it's very vibrant. It's great. It's exposed right to the bay. Lots of people. It's just a good place to be.
Business owner Mark Sands feels the same way.
We moved to a larger space. We have a little more presence on the street, and it's increased our business. There's larger stores in the area, but they don't seem to affect any of our business, and I'm sure we don't affect any of their business either.
Over at Jeffrey's Pro Hardware, located just off of King Street, customer Kevin Moreau likes the personal service he receives, among other things.
Being able to get exactly what I want, not having to buy large packages. The knowledge of these men knowing the products that I need. My time is important to me, and I don't need to stand at a desk all day.
Owner Ron Jeffrey understands what personal service means to his customers. His family has been in the hardware business in Midland since 1901.
We do know probably 75% of our customers. We know, almost on a personal, every guy, everybody's name type of thing.
Docking facilities for transient boaters at the foot of King Street also help to make downtown Midland a destination place for tourists, as do a few other area attractions. The town of Innisfil consists of several communities, each with their own distinct qualities. With a population approaching 30,000, it covers a large area. So where is downtown Innisfil? Do you know where downtown Innisfil is?
No, I don't. I'm afraid I don't. I've lived in here. I'm assuming it's Cookstown, but Innisfil's such a big area. No, I can't say definitively where it is.
Downtown of Innisfil, as far as I'm concerned, is right in the middle of Stroud, right at the donut shop.
One's here in Alcona, and I think there's one in Stroud, and I think there's one in Lefroy and one in Cookstown.
Where is downtown Innisfil?
Innisfil is a community of communities. We all have our own main streets. We all have our own special stores, groups, interests, so there isn't one.
Good answer, Lori, but not quite right.
I would say down around Barclay myself, but I don't know where it is. There isn't such a place.
Oh, yes, there is.
Alcona. I would say Alcona.
Why do you think that?
That's where all the money's going.
And you would be right.
They're beautifying Alcona.
Mayor of Innisfil, Brian Jackson, can certainly confirm that one.
Downtown Innisfil, the major downtown area is in Alcona. That's our major growth area in the municipality.
An $18 million plan has been finalized for an entire street rebuild, complete with street furniture and specialized lighting, which will hopefully entice businesses and people to come to downtown Alcona.
It's progress. It's sad to see them go, but we can't help those things.
As the face of downtowns continue to change and modify, business and shop owners try to find new and innovative ways to keep their own interests alive.
Today on Spuds of Our Lives, totally average Alliston from Alliston was briskly walking down Victoria Street, eager to make it to the hair gallery for her Redken highlights, and doing a little window shopping. She stopped at Soap Opera,
Handmade hemp soaps, neat.
Briscoe Furniture,
Wow, an elephant ottoman.
and the Hawk Shop.
Ooh, gold jewelry sale.
But it was when she was waiting for the lights to change at Church Street.
In Alliston, it has an old downtown that, you know, we have the odd empty storefront, but not compared to some towns where things are dying completely. And as long as we all work together, we try to keep the downtown modern, but within keeping of the fact that it's an old town, then we can draw new people and make it a place to come.
Whether or not Main Street in your community survives really depends on you, for it does provide an alternative. You might just discover a place where conversations flow, relationships are forged, and the personal touch and simpler times still exist. A place where everything's waiting for you.